2, 1. All right. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome yet again to the ZYL Zone. Well, I think we've just given it a name now. We've been doing a few of these Facebook Live conversations with our platform on the Youth League, just as a way of interacting with the diasporian base as a party that we believe is one that is reaching out for dialogue and wanting to hear divergent voices. So we created this platform to speak to people from different backgrounds, some professional, some may not be professional, but one thing we'll all have in common is our love for Zimbabwe. Tonight, I am honored to have a guest who is I'm sure is quite well known and quite well esteemed within the Zimbabwean circles and globally as well, considering his background. He has a man of many talents, and vast, extensive experience in finance, business, and governance to an executive level. It is none other than the one and only Honorable and former Deputy Finance Minister Terence Mukupe. How do you do this evening?
No, I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Great. Thank you for coming on to the show. Well, to start off with a bit of an easy soft approach to it. Maybe you can begin by telling us your background. I know that you are one who was in the diaspora, having worked in the United States of America up to Wall Street levels. Can you tell us a bit about that background and what led you to go home in the end?
Well, I'm a mathematician primarily by training, and I guess I'm a financial mathematician by training, and
Okay.
over and above my financial mathematics training, I also went to B school in the United States in New York. I went to NYU School of Business where I did a bit of banking, and from the banking background, I've also done some private equity work. So my whole entire life, I've just basically been in the finance sector. I spent close to 10 years in the diaspora, but I guess I always had a strong edge to come back to Zimbabwe and rebuild my country. And having come back to Zimbabwe at the right time, I went into politics. And I guess given the background that I have and the qualifications that I have, I think it came as a shocker for most of my peers, because what's always expected is that people who go into politics are always people who are failures and have got nothing else better to do, and that's always been the trend in Zimbabwe.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, your opinion, not mine. So moving forward. So you've come from. I suppose one of the questions that a person from the diaspora will have is that after having moved from the United States, the comforts, and having lived briefly in the UK as well, what was how challenging was it to adapt to a new environment, a new reality? Of course, you were born and raised there, but surely after 10 years, one loses a sense of what you would term reality in our sense, considering the difference of the environment.
I think the thing that hits you when you come back home, having stayed in a country where everything works, it becomes very difficult for you to adjust. There's certain things that you take for granted when you're in the diaspora. The fact that you can open you can open the tap and water comes out. The fact that you've got electricity all the time. The fact that you can go into a supermarket, you can choose different types of cheeses. You can decide whether you want organic or inorganic. These are things that you become accustomed to. That the bus, if you're expecting the bus to be outside your door at 10:30, it's outside your door at 10:30. And then all of a sudden you come back home, you realize that okay, there are certain things that people back home accept as being normal, and they accept a shoddy service. And there's always this attitude, they go, those are you know what I mean? So you start seeing how people around you are lethargic and have have just this attitude whereby they're just satisfied with things that are substandard.
Or is it lethargic, or is it just mere contentment? Not knowing, if not having a comparison, surely
Uh,
it is, isn't it?
no, I think what I find to be painful is this. When you go around the civil service sector, most of the guys who actually occupy the senior positions are former diasporans. So they know how things are supposed to function. They've tasted the good life. So they've got no excuse for operating the way that they operate. So that's why I actually say that for the most part, it's actually lethargic behavior. It's different
Okay.
with someone who's probably in the ghetto, who's never been explored, who's never been outside. For them, it's normal kutima gets anuenda. For them, it's normal that you don't get city council water. You know, in Mapuku, I'm told the last time they had water was like in the 80s, city council water. So it's normal for them. You know, they don't know any other normal outside of that.
Okay, well, we'll come to that. We'll come to the day to day and the day to day realities. Well, swiftly moving on. You're currently going for the chairperson position of for Harare. Is that correct?
Yes, I have every intention of going for the position. Though officially, the ZANU PF Politburo members called me in and censored me and said I shouldn't be out there meeting people to canvass for support, which I think it's really unfortunate. Because it's clear that there's a vacancy.
Are they?
So
Are they? What was the rationale? Are they not the rules?
no,
If an official
there's it's funny that there's always this, people come up with their rules which say that you cannot go out and campaign before it's time. But like when I've gone through the ZANU PF constitution, there's no way it says that like when there's a vacancy, you're not allowed to go out and talk to people.
Okay. All right. So with these elections, what makes you think you're the best man for the job? Considering, Harare. Yes, I know your background in Harare East. You had quite a lot of extensive
It's
experience.
it's
But
it's
that
it's
alone, do you
very
think that alone is enough and sufficient for
no,
you to
it's
run for the post?
for me it's very simple. The ZANU PF brand is dead in Harare. That's honest truth. So I think it takes someone who's going to be able to take an honest look and say that why is the ZANU-PF brand dead in Harare? And what is it that we need to do to resurrect it? And I'm
But
pretty
what makes
clear
you? But
that
what
like,
makes you? I suppose the question is, what makes you think you're the one to resurrect the brand?
okay, and I was going to get to that. The reason why the ZANU-PF brand is dead is because like we've got this situation where it's become an old boys club, whereby you've got people that are over 50 years of age making up the nucleus of the ZANU-PF support, and yet the electorate is now between probably half of almost 60% of the electorate is between 18 and 40 years of age. So it becomes an issue of it's a generational issue that you need someone within Harare who's vibrant enough and who's in touch with the generation that makes up the majority of the voters in Harare. And I think I've got probably the right characteristics and the right exposure to be able to regenerate and
I suppose what I'm.
reinvigorate
I
Harare.
suppose what I'm getting to, besides your
Yeah.
age, is what
Yes.
are these characteristics that you deem to be the right characteristics to be able to forge forward the vision for Harare?
Okay. What is it that any young person in Harare needs? Everyone needs a job. Everyone needs.
But surely
You've
voters
got
are
the
not monolithic.
Here's what you have. The biggest issue for any person who's living in Harare who's just finished school is that they don't have anything to do. You've got over 100,000 kids that are finding themselves in the streets because they can't go on to A level and they can't do anything. And then you've got a situation where you've got probably less than 10% of the people that are graduating from university, from technical colleges, that are actually getting jobs. All those people are under a situation of despair. But like what really is needed is for a situation where you are able to take what we've gotten to accept that this is the situation. There's not enough jobs. How are we able to be able to come together and probably reinvigorate the entrepreneurial mind and work with the situation that we have and turn it into a positive? So that's where I
So
feel like
I think the argument would be put forward is so that particular constituency is about 2 million voters, if I'm not correct, right?
Yes.
It's about 2
Yes.
million voters. And what would be the voting population within Harare East, say, where you were running against BT, who is himself approaching his 50s? What then
Yes.
gives you the credence to then
No.
make that argument in the context of aid?
Harare East, it was a simple case with Mapurisaga akatengesa, and it was an issue with it was a very simple case. When we had the Operation Restore Legacy, the police, which make up almost 40% of the voting public in Harare East, they felt that the government took them as Vatengesi. And as a result, you'll find that 90% of the police in the support unit, which is supposed to be protecting the president, voted against me and the president. So those were issues which had nothing to do with Terence Mukupe per se, but this was an issue of national issues that had to be addressed.
Okay, but separating the presidential aspect to it, what credence do you have to make such a claim?
You know what you have to realize with the Harare voter? The Harare voter is so sophisticated to the fact that the status of the economy is what makes him go out and put his X. When we actually went to the elections, we actually had a situation during the week of the elections. We actually suffered the worst period in terms of people not being able to access their money. So you'd find the majority of the Harare East voters are well-to-do people. These are people that, like, you know what, who basically understand the state of the economy. And if the economy is not functioning well, and there are no solutions that government is proffering in terms of appealing to their issues, it becomes a tough sell in terms of selling the brand of
But
South Africa.
Terence, doesn't that then, Honorable MP, doesn't that then give credence to the opposite side? Because you ran against a man who was the former finance minister, who many perceive to have introduced the US dollar, which are misplaced facts to some degree, and you were the present deputy minister of finance. Could it not be termed a protest?
Let me tell you what happened with that election. Whether it was BT or whether they'd even put a baboon, people were going to vote for that baboon. You've got a situation where people at that point in time in Harare were not happy with the brand of ZANU-PF. That's why you find like it was a situation where we were whitewashed in the whole of Harare. It didn't even matter even if I was going to go and retar every road in Harare East, make sure that there's water in every house in Harare East. It didn't matter. You have a
Okay.
situation where the Harare electorate were not happy with the government because vanhu vangachitadza kunotora mari yavo kubank. People, there
Okay.
was no medication in the hospitals. These are issues that affect the town electorate. And us as a party in ZANU-PF, when you look at our manifesto and the message that we're putting out, it was a message that was tailor-made for the rural electorate. So it became a difficult thing for anyone to be able to sell the ZANU-PF brand to someone.
But surely there were strong points regarding housing. There were strong points regarding infrastructural development, which would have been targeting equally urban
It was
areas.
all talk. There's
Well,
nothing that has been achieved. We're
so
talking about let me give you practical examples. When you're talking to a Harare voter, you're talking to someone who's enlightened. We're talking about these are the big deals we're talking about. We're talking
but
about
Terence, language like that tends to then implicitly suggest that the rural constituency does not have the equal sophistication. They may have different needs, but it does not make them less sophisticated, surely.
No, it's not an issue of sophistication. It's an issue of meeting the needs of the
But that's the
electorate.
language you've used.
So,
That's the language you've used.
if we're able to meet the needs of the rural electorate, they're going to vote for us. Kunopa buru remombe rekutiri, you're going to take it around the crows of all the people in the villages. They'll vote for you for that because you're affecting their local economy. But to someone in the city, I can't come to them and start telling them, good, like Tane Minda.
Right.
A
Okay.
ghetto youth,
So,
I can, how do I go to a ghetto youth and tell him, good, like, oh, there's command agriculture. All that stuff is nonsense to him because he's not a farmer.
it's not matching his reality. It's not matching his reality. Oh, that's what I wanted to focus on. So, focused on Harare, going for the chairperson of Harare. Let me just ask a few more questions. Some that I feel unanswered. Let's move away from the character aspect. Let's focus on your goals. Besides the rebranding of ZANU-PF, what practically would you tell a local constituent? What practical goals that, as you're arguing, where can you meet them at their point of need?
For me, it's very clear. The only reason why anyone joins any party is that there must be some benefits that accrue from the party. So I'm saying that, like, if we're the ruling party, right, we are the ones who are generating the jobs. We are not the ones who are generating the opportunities. So from that position, we should be making sure that people who make up our electorate are actually benefiting from whatever it is that we're generating as a government.
But surely by
So
that logic, our electorate does not cover. You've just said we've had a whitewash. Surely the conservatives here, the conservatives in the UK, when it comes to their service delivery, it's very the demographics tend to favor their voting constituency. Why would that become the case? Because you're the boss in Harai.
look at it this way: 60% of the voting public were people who are supposed to be waking up and going and working somewhere. And these people are not waking up and going to a job, they're waking up and square out my drain. So the biggest thing that you need to address is the issue of making sure that how do you get these young people employed? How do you make sure that they're not just becoming idle bodies? That's the
But
biggest
but
issue.
former minister, that's the question I'm asking you. How do you intend to do it? Sorry, former minister, I've lost your sound. I've lost your sound. Sorry, former minister, I've lost your sound. Sound. So I think could you let me know if you can hear the former minister's sound there? Former minister, can you check your sound, please? Can you check your sound? Your sound. Check your sound on your side. Can you check your sound, sir? Can you check your sound? Your sound. Let me see. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, I'm just going to we are quickly having a technical challenge. I just want to make sure that the minister's sound is in check. We'll quickly we'll return to the broadcast. We just quickly want to check the sound. Sound. And broadcast.